crisis of the affected countries and shape financial and economic policies in the region for years to come. So first, specifically on 2nd of July 1997, the crisis began when the Thailand Central Bank, the Bank of Thailand, abandons its defense of the Thai baht's fixed exchange rate and allows it to float, leading to a sharp depreciation. Next, on July 11, 1997, Thailand seeks assistance from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, as its currency crisis worsened, announces a series of economic measures to stabilize the economy, including austerity measures and the financial sector reforms. Next, on 14th August 1997, the crisis spread to Indonesia, leading to a significant depreciation. 23rd October, South Korea's stock market experienced a sharp decline as investors start to lose confidence in the country's financial stability. By the end of the year 1997, on December 1997, it spread to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore. On January 1998, the crisis deepens in South Korea as the Koreans experience a sharp depreciation, and the government announces a financial reform plan. On January 15, Indonesia formally requests assistance from the IMF as its currency crisis worsened. In February, the Philippine peso depreciated significantly, signaling the spread of the crisis to the Philippines. And on 5th of February, Malaysia imposes capital controls and pegs the Malaysian ringgit to the US dollar in an effort to stabilize its currency. On May, rioting and social unrest intensity in Indonesia as the economic crisis deepens. In June, Thailand formally agrees to an IMF.
September 1998.
September. Okay. I'll change it in my presentation.
Today, 31st August. Merdeka. Di dataran Merdeka. Merdeka semua atas itu. Termasuklah Sri Kuala itu Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Dia nampak dia nampak macam senyum. Itu 31 Ogos. Ini cerita. Itu 31 Ogos. Next day adalah 1 Ogos.
September.
Next day 2 Ogos. Masa 31 Ogos pun, menjelang 31 Ogos pun, surat khabar sudah bercerita mengenai antara ketegangan antara Dr. Mahathir dan Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Masing-masing menafikan, tetapi adalah berlaku macam-macam. So, orang kata kalau tidak ada pokok, takkan
bergoyang pokok.
Itu 31 Ogos semua atas pentasan. Begini ketegangannya. Saya tak ada niat politik apa kan. Dr. Mahathir mahu buat langkah sendiri. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim mahu meminjam daripada IMF. Itulah ketegangan antara mereka. Permasalahan antara mereka adalah macam mana nak selesaikan ini. 31 Ogos masing-masing atas kertas. 1 September ribut. 2 September Dr. Mahathir memecat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim daripada sebagai timbalan Presiden UMNO dan juga memecat jawatan
Menteri Kewangan.
Itu 2 Ogos. 2 Ogos Dr. Mahathir pecat. 3 Ogos maka Dr. Mahathir mula melaksanakan langkah. Saya kata Ogos kan? September. Tadi 31 Ogos. 1 September saya pun tersasul kan. 31 Ogos, saya drama semula. Ini masa-masa atas kertas di dataran Merdeka. 31 Ogos. Esoknya 1 September, dah bunyi macam-macam dah. Anwar Ibrahim, maka Dr. Mahathir melaksanakan itu langkah kawalan modal dan pegging ringgit kepada
US dollar.
Dolar mereka tetap 3.80 sen tetap. Kalau dolar naik, ringgit naiklah. Kata bangsa itu bermula 2 atau 3 September. Setelah beliau memecat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, hanya menceritakan semula apa yang telah berlaku, bahawa Dr. Mahathir memecat Menteri Kewangan untuk laksanakan langkah kawalan modal ini itu tanpa meminjam daripada
IMF.
Itu berlaku pada
September
3
September
September
90.
ya, 1998, bukan Februari. Itu saya nak pembuktikan itulah. Itu saja. September.
Alright, okay. Directly to the June. So in June, Thailand rescue package. The crisis spread to Hong Kong as the Hong Kong dollar comes under speculative attacks, leading to the intervention by Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And lastly, by 1998, many of the affected East Asian countries worked on implementing economic and financial reforms to stabilize their economies and recover from the crisis. This crisis long-term impact, including slower economic growth and increased focus on financial stability and regulatory reform, continued to be felt in the region in the years following in the initial crisis. Okay. Country that affected by the crisis of their central bank did to stabilize their economies and address the crisis. So for Thailand, the Bank of Thailand raised interest rates to defend the Thai baht and prevent further depreciation. It sought assistance from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and agreed to implement economic reform as part of IMF-led rescue package. It also raised interest rates to defend its currency, the Indonesian rupiah. The government and central bank implemented a series of reforms in exchange rate policy and banking regulation, including the closure and recapitalization of several insolvent banks. For South Korea, bond and main received a significant financial assistance package from the IMF, which came with strict conditions for economic reform. As what Dr. said from the last presentation also, the IMF did help most of the countries, but then they give a strict rules and regulation for the countries that they need to follow. And for Malaysia, September 1998, to prevent the outflow of foreign capital and to stabilize its currency, strict controls over currency exchange. Next, for Philippines, the Bangkok Central Bank of Philippines also raised interest rates to protect the Philippine peso. The government implemented various fiscal and monetary measures to restore stability. In Japan, the Bank of Japan lowered interest rates to combat deflation and stimulate economic growth. Japan provides financial support to some of the affected countries and contributed to regional efforts to stabilize the crisis.
Okay, saya intervene sekejap.
Alright.
Remember, I said in my 1980s dikenali sebagai dekad hutang. It is 90s dikenali sebagai the lost decade of Japan. Japan, dia punya ekonomi sejak tahun 1990-an lagi sudah malak. 0.1, 0.2, 0.1 mengalami ini deflation bahkan mengalami deflasi di Jepun. Pelik Jepun, pelik daripada negara lain. Saya pun tak berani nak urai macam mana peliknya Jepun ni. Saya jangan sebab kalau nak urai panjang sebab dia melibatkan banyak-banyak berkaitan dengan dia punya sistem ekonomi dia yang menyebabkan bahawa dana fiskal ya yang menyebabkan ekonomi apa yang telah mencapai satu tahap potensi yang telah tinggi dan tidak boleh berkembang lagi, dan tahap itulah walaupun kadar ekspor dia okey saja, dia memang positif ekspor sentiasa, tak ada masalah, ekspor dia surplus, tapi itulah yang baru untuk Jepun. Dan dengan itu dari segi surplus mereka banyak wang dan untuk melabur tempat lain, tapi itu masih lagi tidak dapat mengembangkan ekonomi dia. Kalau 0.1, 0.2, 0.2 menyebabkan bahawa inflasi sangat rendah lah di Jepun. Inflasi rendah di Jepun. Boleh faham? Bahkan dia bukan saja mengalami inflasi, sebaliknya mengalami deflasi. Sebab itulah yang kita nampak di papan skrin kita. Jepun kadar bunga di sini nampak Jepun tak naikkan kadar bunga. Saya sama-sama.
Alright. Okay, for the next one, Singapore. The Monetary Authority of Singapore took measure to ensure the stability of the Singapore dollar and maintain its peg to a basket of currencies. The government implemented fiscal measure to support the economy. And last but not least, Hong Kong. The Hong Kong monetary dollar spiked to US dollar. Hong Kong robust financial system helped it weather the crisis relatively well. In addition to this measure, many of central banks worked closely with the IMF to develop and implement comprehensive reform programs aimed at addressing the root causes of the crisis, such as weaknesses in the financial sector, corporate governance, and regulatory frameworks. This reform program often included and so this is why few of why and how the crisis happened. Firstly, the views often overlap and complement each other, but they highlight different aspects of the crisis. Firstly, the financial sector weakness. One widely accepted view is that crisis is the financial sector of the affected countries. This includes inadequate regulation and supervision, poor corporate governance, and excessive lending by banks. These weaknesses led to over-leveraging, where companies and financial institutions borrowed heavily without the ability to repay, leading to financial instability. Next, for the currency pegs and moral hazard, some argues that the fixed exchange rate regime crisis. These pegs created a sense of complacency among investors and allowed for unsustainable economic policies. The belief that the International Monetary Fund (IMF) would come to the rescue if needed, bail out in event of crisis. It's a contagion effect. The crisis quickly spread from one country to another country.
Stop ya. Nanti you tanya apa itu moral hazard. Kita tak cukup lah. Tapi boleh sudah tangkap apa.
The contagion effect. The crisis quickly spread from one country to another, which suggests a contagion effect. It's like contagious disease, so it's become like contagious effect. Some argues that speculative attacks on one currency led to a lost confidence. The views emphasize the interconnectedness of global financial markets and the speed at which information and panic can spread. Structural issues. Structural issues within the economies of the affected countries also play a role. Rapid growth and development have led to vulnerabilities such as high level of foreign debt and weak export competitiveness. Issues related to crony capitalism and corruption were also cited as contributing capital flights. Sudden stop of capital flights and large-scale capital flights exacerbated the crisis. When foreign investors began pulling their money out of the countries, it put significant pressure on their currency and banking system. This ability of economics heavily reliant on foreign investment. The abrupt reversal of capital flow highlighted the vulnerability of economics heavily reliant on foreign investment. Next, for global factors, some argue that global economic factors, including the appreciation of the US dollar and rising interest rates in the United States, played a role in triggering the crisis. This factor made it more expensive for Asian countries and another investors seeking quick profits are often blamed for exacerbating the crisis. They engage the currency speculation and short selling, putting further pressure on exchange rates.
Yeah, Dr. Mahathir blame it on Soros, George Soros, as the speculator, penyangak mata wang.
And last but not least, policy responses. The response institute has been subject of debate. Some argue that the condition imposed by IMF in exchange for financial assistance worsened the crisis in some countries. It is important to take note that these factors are interconnected and the crisis was likely a result of combination of these elements. Additionally, the debate over the causes of the Asian financial crisis continues to evolve as economists and policymakers. I'll pass to my next friend.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To be honest, saya tak tahu nak present apa. Sebab kebanyakan benda yang saya nak present telah dipresent oleh grup 9 tadi. Tapi saya akan try my best. And kita santai je petang ni. Sebab dapat adalah orang cakap ubat ataupun langkah-langkah yang dibuat oleh IMF untuk membantu negara-negara ini disebutlah. So first kita kena kenal pemain kita siapa. What is IMF? IMF is International Monetary Fund yang macam Dr. cakap tadi, is a fail-safe option ataupun last option untuk negara ini pinjam duit. Tapi akan ada syarat-syarat yang dikenakan yang kita kena ikut. So IMF was created in 1940. Dia tak nak prevent poverty, dia nak promote sustainable economic growth. But one of the most underlying reasons lah kan, orang yang selalu tak nampak adalah the creation of IMF is a simultaneous action to combat communism waktu 1945. Kenapa? So selepas Perang Dunia Kedua ada dua kuasa besar yang ada, which is the United States of America and the Soviet Union. Both of these bawa economic policy ataupun economic philosophy yang waktu tu tak ada wang untuk membangunkan negara-negara mereka yang telah hancur sebab perang. So disebabkan diorang tak nak diorang tak nak Soviet Union membantu negara-negara ini. Selepas tu negara ini menjadi negara komunis disebabkan bantuan oleh Soviet Union. IMF diciptakan untuk membantu negara ini dan diorang bagi duit dekat negara ini untuk membangunkan negara diorang. So IMF provided financial support to countries impacted by the crisis such as South Korea, Thailand and Indonesia. Okay, diorang bagi duit, tapi apa yang diorang nak daripada negara-negara ini adalah satu, diorang nak structural stabilizing currencies as a solution to the crisis. So proponents ataupun orang yang sokong IMF punya actions adalah these reforms were necessary to address the root causes of the crisis, which included or not limited to excessive borrowing, weak financial regulations and unsustainable exchange rate policies. So saya nak korang fokus dekat bila nanti kita punya negara membangun dan kita ada banyak projek pembinaan Sepang, KLIA, Twin Towers. So how kita nak spend, kita either kena create tax untuk tax our citizen ataupun kita borrow from other people. So disebabkan kita banyak projek, so this why it the root of the causes. Okay, critique of IMF's approach. So some critics argue that the IMF's approach exacerbate the crisis ataupun lagi memburukkan keadaan. Some people will say they contended that the IMF insisted on rapid financial liberalisation. Macam Dr. cakap tadi, financial liberalisation, kita liberal, kita buka kita punya borders, kita buka kita punya, it lead to severe economic contractions and social hardships in the affected countries.
Austerity adalah potong perbelanjaan kerajaan. Fiskal perbelanjaan kerajaan jimat potong austerity. Itu austerity program. Dan untuk dipotong, dan tempat mana paling prone paling terdedah akan cepat menjadi mangsa pemotongan ada social spending. So spending on the social
tanda sawang
untuk bantuan kepada bantuan terpaksa tak ada lagi yang beri beasiswa, beri apa-apa lah, beri pemberian semua
bersamamu
dipotong. Maksudnya the critics of IMF punya program ni, saya nak cakap bahawa IMF ini dengan dasar austerity ini telah menggalakkan orang susah semakin susah. Perbelanjaan dan tempat yang paling mudah kerajaan potong perbelanjaan terhadap orang
susah
yang susah. Terhadap industri dia tak potong. Kenapa? Industri dia nak kena ada supaya ekonomi dapat berjalan. Mudah saja kerajaan, tak ada lagi apa-apa, tak ada lagi percuma apa-apa. Jadi dan juga kesan, maksudnya austerity program ini mempunyai kesan yang negatif terhadap spending on social ikan. Tapi yang ekonomi ini ada duit, tak ada duit, yang sektor ekonomi mesti buat. Itu beza. So austerity ini penjabatan kerajaan yang kesannya adalah kepada social sectors. Itulah kritik.
Okay, saya nak korang fokus dekat rapid financial.
Itu saya dah, itu ada social hardship. Oh, ya.
Saya nak fokus dekat rapid financial liberalisation. Macam Dr. cakap tadi, dia adalah fokus kepada pembukaan borders, pembukaan kita punya financial market. Tapi ada satu lagi term di mana kita ada closely related dengan politik. Kita ada politik kanan ataupun konservatif politik, kita juga ada politik kiri ataupun politik yang liberal. So the same thing. Apa maksudnya di sini adalah bila ekonomi kita semakin liberal, kita bagi lebih banyak power kepada kerajaan. Itu maksudnya. Atau kalau ekonomi kita lebih konservatif, kita lebih banyak lagi corporation yang menjalankan ekonomi tersebut, ataupun kita sebaliknya. Okay. Saya baca tadi. Alright. And then the critics also argue that IMF focus on fiscal discipline, which is perbelanjaan kerajaan lah, ataupun market liberalisation, neglected the underlying problems of crony capitalism and weak corporate governance in these countries. So kita akan pergi Thailand. Thailand is one of the first countries to be hit by the crisis. To stabilize its economy, the Thai government took the following measures. 1. Thailand abandoned its fixed exchange rate regime and allow the Thai baht to float. Maksudnya dia ikut changes towards the market punya demand and supply lah. This was an attempt to regain competitiveness and reduce pressure on its foreign exchange reserve. Nombor 2 adalah dia menerima bantuan IMF ataupun IMF assistance. Thailand sought assistance from the internet $17.2 billion in August 1997. In exchange for the financial support, Thailand agreed to implement structural reforms including financial sector restructuring and fiscal consolidation. Macam kita kena ubah dekat ada sistem perbankan ataupun ekonomi kita sendiri, so that means a structural change. Bank closures and recapitalization. The Thai government closed many insolvent financial institutions and recapitalized others to restore confidence in the banking sector. South Korea. So South Korea was severely the South Korean government implemented the following measures. So menerima bantuan IMF. Kalau korang perasan, kebanyakan negara-negara yang terkena krisis kewangan ni adalah diorang menerima bantuan IMF dan cara diorang tu hampir sama. Kalau ada yang lain pun diorang ubah sikit-sikit je. Macam Anis cakap tadi, benda ni contagious, and bila satu negara kena, negara tu akan tengok negara tu yang kena, and negara tu akan ikut polisi negara tu ataupun diorang akan ubah sikit. 57 1997. In return, it implemented austerity measures and structural reforms, including corporate restructuring and financial sector reforms. Interest rate hikes. Dia naikkan interest rate dia untuk defend its currency. Why? Bila you naikkan interest rate, you entice foreign investment untuk datang ke negara you untuk melabur. So untuk melabur, you punya demand for your currency. It's not the case. Kadang-kadang kalau you naikkan interest rate pun tak ada orang datang melabur sebab keyakinan diorang tak ada dekat negara you. And then lastly, corporate debt workouts. South Korea initiate a program to restructure and reduce the debt burden of its chaebols. So semua orang tahu chaebols kan? From K-drama. So large family owned conglomerates to enhance corporate governance and financial stability. So chaebols ni diorang macam backbone of South Korea economy lah. Diorang yang kaya-kaya tu semua. Syarikat besar. Samsung. Hyundai. Song Ye-jin chaebol tau. Song Ye-jin. So Malaysia sedikit lain. So ni banyak lain. Banyak lain. Unconventional approach to the crisis. So satu, capital control, macam kawan saya cakap tadi, Anis Najwa, dia tambatkan kita punya currency towards US currency. So this was done to prevent further speculative attacks. Nombor 2 adalah financial sector measures. Malaysia also implemented reforms in its financial sector. So rather IMF, diorang lebih Malaysia atau negara kita lebih rela buat syarat diorang sendiri and tukar what do they call it, restructure corporate sector diorang sendiri.
So dia ada vehicle yang telah di-createkan. Saya lupa, kalau refer pada buku laporan oleh National Advisory Council at the time, ada vehicle yang diberikan. Ada dua vehicle. Vehicle ni adalah macam vehicle lah untuk ada detail pada ada vehicles.
Okay, itu saja daripada saya. Saya serahkan kepada kawan saya. Ini kau kan?
Next, the compare the result among the countries and between Malaysia and those countries. Firstly, Indonesia, South Korea, and Thailand were the most affected countries by the crisis. Malaysia was also affected by the crisis, but it managed to recover faster than other countries in the region. The crisis led to the sharp decline in GDP growth in several countries, including Indonesia, South Korea, and Thailand. Next, China was relatively early sharply in 1998 and 1999. Singapore was relatively insulted from the shock, but it suffered serious hit mainly due to its status as a major financial hub and geographical proximity to Malaysia and Indonesia. Financial supervision. The recovery in 1998 to 1999 was rapid, and worries and meltdown quickly subsided. The aggregate current account of Indonesia, Korea, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand was forecast to $20 billion in 1998. Economy drew a number of lessons from the Asian financial crisis of 1998, their effect. Next, we look for various criticism and praise at that time 1998 on Malaysia orthodox measure, who criticized and why. Some economists criticize Malaysia unorthodox measure, arguing that they violate the principle of free trade and capital mobility. So, who praise and why? On the other hand, some economists praise that they have stabilized the country economy and prevent a deeper crisis. Malaysia measure 1998, 1999.
Okay, some argue Malaysia's measure were also bold and innovative.
Secondly, who critics and why? Critics argue that Malaysia measures such as capital control and fixed exchange rates could discourage foreign inventiveness in the long run. Who praise and why? Supported Malaysian measure argue that they were necessary to restore confidence in the country financial system and prevent a run on the bank. Thirdly, some also argue that Malaysia
simpan keluarkan duit. Apabila itu berlaku, itu sudah menjadi krisis banking. Katakan saya tak yakin. Bukan saya, semua orang tak yakin. Duit tu yang ada tu akan hilang di bank, akan turun di dan sebagainya. Jadi cepat-cepat pergi keluarkanlah, takut hilang dan bank akan jadi bankrupt. Bintang bank akan jadi orang pergi Tapi ada satu krisis lagi. Pegang wang di tangan. Namun jika wang tak ada nilai, itu krisis lain. Itu cerita lain. Panjang. Sambung.
Okay. Thirdly, some also argue that Malaysia measures were not effective in addressing the root causes of the crisis, such as weak financial sector and high level of foreign debt. Who praise and why? Some also argue that innovative response in the crisis and that they could serve as a model for other countries facing similar challenges. Next, Malaysia measure 1998. Council Economic Action Council was established to coordinate in the government response to the crisis. The NESC was chaired by Prime Minister and included representatives from various government agencies and the private sector. The NESC suggested a number of policy measures to address the crisis, including capital controls, fixed exchange rates, and fiscal stimulus. First, implement capital controls and manage foreign exchange transactions. The ECD was responsible for approving and monitoring all foreign exchange transactions, including trade and investment transactions. The ECD also imposed restrictions on capital outflows and limited the amount of foreign currency that could be held by resident and non-resident. In 1999, the Corporate Debt Restructuring Committee (CDRC) was established to facilitate the restructuring and next, the CDRC worked with banks and corporations to restructure debt and reschedule payment with the aim of avoiding liquidation and preserving jobs.
This is one of the vehicle that I mentioned. Satu lagi dana something.
Company was established by acquire and manage non-performing loans from banks. The ECD was also imposed restriction on capital outflows and limited the amount of foreign currency that could be held by resident and non-resident.
Dana harta satu vehicle ini to manage sebelum krisis ini definasi ngapa family loan sangat. Saya nak tambah saja ni sebab dia punya meet tak cukup. Saya sentiasa lebih pada meet tau. Meet saya nak meet dah lebih. Sebab tu saya sentiasa guna kata meat. Apa tu? Daging. Saya mau daging yang banyak. Contoh-contoh benda-benda macam inilah, daging yang banyak. Sebelum krisis ini, istilah ataupun definisi non-performing loan, NPL, hutang tidak berbayar. Bayar baru NPL, non-performing loan, atau hutang tidak berbayar. Dulu 6 bulan berturut-turut baru. Dengan krisis ini telah melakukan consolidation, restructuring, whatever saya lupa katanya, mengubah pada 3 bulan berturut-turut dikira sebagai non-performing loan. Kereta kena tarik, rumah kena sita. Kena buka sita, ambil balik. Bukan hasrat bank untuk mempunyai rumah. Sama dengan krisis subprime dulu di Amerika Syarikat. So inilah peranan dana harta sebagai satu vehicle. Satu lagi dana something, saya lupa, untuk giving money, fund kepada bank, kepada syarikat-syarikat itu. Kenderaan atau kenderaan. So teruskan.
Next, the function, job, scope, that, and what to accomplish and how. The capital control imposed by Malaysia aim to prevent capital flight and stabilize the exchange rate. The fixed rate regime aimed to provide certain on the banks. The fiscal stimulus measure aimed to boost domestic demand and support economic growth. The CDRC aimed to facilitate debt restructuring and prevent bankruptcies with the aim of banking system and restore confidence by managing and disposing of the distressed asset.
Ya, itu apa yang saya cakap tadi. Dana harta ni clean up the banking system. Sebab apa saya kata tadi, bank tak nak memiliki rumah. Kan, you tak dapat bayar rumah kan. So, saya pun bank, saya pun ambil rumah. Saya tak nak, saya sebagai bank tak nak rumah-rumahan, saya nak wang. Dana harta lah ambil peranan itu. Dia stand up, vehicle. Okay, teruskan.
So for the criticism 1998 to 2000 unorthodox measure agreeing that violate the principle of free trade and capital mobility. Critics argue that Malaysian measures such as capital control and fixed exchange rate could discourage foreign investment and hurt the country's competitiveness in the long run. Effective in a weak financial sector and high level of foreign debt. For the periods 1998 to 2000, on the other hand, some economists praise Malaysia measure, agreeing that they help stabilize the country economy and prevent a deeper crisis. Supporters of Malaysia measure argue that they were necessary to restore confidence in the country's financial system and prevent a run on the banks. Some also respond to the crisis and that they could serve as a model similar challenges.
Bahkan dalam buku teks international economic saya ada ekonomi antarabangsa. Ada satu section tu ditulis mengenai langkah Malaysia, measures by Malaysia. Masuk buku teks sebagai satu langkah yang alternatif. Dia tak kata yang modal, dia kata alternatif. Maknanya masih lagi berpegang pada fikrah neoliberal. Langkah Malaysia ini bukan neoliberal, ini langkah songsang kepada neoliberal. Tapi macam itulah sikap ekonomis neoliberal. Dan rata-rata mainstream economics adalah neoliberal. Okay, teruskan.
Next, I pass to next presenter.
Comparison countries. So the first one, Malaysia imposed capital controls and fixed the exchange rate, while other countries liberalize their capital accounts and let their currency float. So basically, as you all know, capital control is the government into the country. So this is to stabilize the financial system. So second, Malaysia lowered interest rates and increased fiscal stimulus, while other countries raised interest rates and tightened fiscal policy. So the government believes that by lowering interest rates, it can create job opportunities and invest in the country. Rely more on domestic sources of financing, while other countries sought external assistance and debt relief. For example, South Korea dia pinjam daripada IMF and Thailand
and Indonesia.
And Indonesia. So one of the fastest country that recovered from the crisis is South Korea. So kita tahu South Korea receive so why because the Korea
You say something what? You say something what? When? Siapa? Bagaimana? So itu saya punya tahap mix yang saya mau. So bila saya tulis tu panjanglah 30, padahal sedikit saja. Kalau saya gabungkan why when satu sebenarnya. Tapi saya nak pastikan bahawa nombor 1, nombor 2 why, nombor 3 who, nombor 4 when.
So a total amount of money offered to bail out South Korea was $58.4 billion 1997 dengan syarat Korea kena mengurangkan krisis yang sama berlaku. So the purpose of this fund is this policy aims to help Korea meet its short-term obligations to lenders and restore growth potential in the long term. So among the reforms are strengthening capital account liberalization. Alright. So berdasarkan polisi yang dilakukan oleh Korea, kita dapat lihat GDP Korea semakin meningkat dengan mendadak daripada 1997 hingga awal tahun alright. So Malaysia melakukan NERP, National Economy Recovery Program. It focuses on 6 main areas which are divided into 2 terms, short term and long term. Short term aims to stabilize the ringgit where it is to stabilize the ringgit, which is the first priority. While long term aims to strengthen the economic base, priorities and accelerate economic recovery. The second priority is to restore market confidence. 3 ways to restore market confidence is transparency, various government policies, and monetary stabilization. This includes monetary stability. Number 1, ensure the strength of the bank system. Number 2, the government needs to create a new institution system. Number 3, banking recapitalization. This is important to ensure that the operating bank is a healthy bank. And lastly, the government needs to carefully monitor the granting of the credit. So the fourth priority is to strengthen the economic base. The social economic is to revive the affected sectors. Malaysia also melakukan selective capital control policy. Basically, the selective capital control ni dia variant of the currency board system CBS from Great Britain in the early 80,000s. The promoter of the system was David Ricardo and Sir John Hicks. So based on they made it clear when he wrote, according to strict Ricardian principles, there should be no for a central bank, only currency board. So to realize the policy that has been set, the government did simple measures. So number 1, the external ringgit market has been eliminated and currency speculators no longer have access to ringgit accounts for non-resident in Malaysia. So number 2, set 87 pegging pact. And lastly, set rules prohibiting repatriation of portfolio funds for 12 months. So we can see from Malaysia GDP, it bertambah daripada 1997 dari 1997 dan meningkat ke tahun seterusnya. Aggregate trade juga meningkat selepas melakukan polisi. World Data Bank, was Malaysia right? According to the report Turmoil to Transformation, 20 years after the Asian financial crisis by the World Bank, the IMF also stated Malaysia helped from its own policies to stabilize its economy. Some of these policy include capital controls, currency pacts, fiscal stimulus, and debt restructuring. World Bank also stated that Malaysia's recovery was faster and more inclusive than other affected countries like Thailand and Indonesia. So how about IMF? The IMF have mixed views. So the recovery is strong and fast, but the capital control and currency pacts have a positive effect on restoring Malaysia 2000. So number two, argued had some negative consequences. Reducing market discipline, discouraging foreign investment, limiting access to international capital markets, and postponing structural reforms. So the IMF also suggested that Malaysia could achieve the same or better result by following IMF supported programs adopted by the countries in the region, such as Indonesia, Korea, and Thailand. Okay, next I will.
Okay. Next analysis. Was Malaysia correct? And why? Malaysia's decision to implement capital control during the Asian financial crisis, it was correct for the following reasons. The first reason, for its stability. Malaysia aimed to stabilize its economy and currency, the ringgit, by preventing capital flight and speculative attacks. Next, recovery. In the year, relatively control may have contributed to stability. Mia, kau nak tukar? Nak tukar. Keyboard. Okay, keyboard. Next, during the ASEAN financial crisis, Thailand and South Korea each implement their own measure. The assessment of whether these measures were correct or wrong can vary depending on a simplified analysis. For Thailand, it is correctness. Thailand's decision to seek assistance from the IMF and implement economic reform was seen as a necessary step to stabilize its economy. For its wrongness, critics argue that the condition imposed by the IMF citizen. Next, for South Korea, it is correctness. South Korea's combination of IMF assistance, financial sector reform, and corporate restructuring helped it recover relatively quickly. For erroneous, critics argue that the crisis exposed weakness in South Korea corporate governance and financial sector oversight. Measure taken today, It depends on several factors. The first factor is economic condition. If a country face a currency crisis and high external debt, similar to a past crisis, such measure might be considered. Next, policy objective. If an economy is threatened by the capital flight and currency depreciation, policymaker may complete this measure for stability. Next, legal and international commit. Consider measure may conflict with trade agreement and affect global standing. The real problem with Malaysia. Some of the
You don't have to read everything. Present, please.
present.
Pak masalah.
Okay. The first. Next.
Thailand also facing the same problem just like Malaysia. First, they face currency loss, high debt, and also weak banks. For India, they face vulnerabilities, contagion effects, and structural reforms. For South Korea, weak banks. The real problems with international financial system. First, no prevention. There were no effective way to prevent financial crises from happening, especially in emerging economy. Second, spreading problems. Crisis in one country could quickly spread to the others, causing risk for the global financial system. Third, lack of transparency. There was a lack of clear and timely financial information, making it hard to prevent and solve crises. And policy coordination among countries. First, lack of coordination. Second, moral hazard. And third, crisis contagion. Last but not least, solution. The way forward for Malaysia, the region, and the international financial system resilience by doing better regulation and also build reserve. Second, promoting regional cooperation by regional safety nets and also information sharing. And third, crisis preparedness and management. Manage exchange rate, global financial architecture, and second, enhance surveillance. For conclusion, the East Asian financial crisis of 1997-1998 was a complex event triggered by financial weaknesses, high foreign debt, and poor regulation. It spread rapidly, leading to economic and social turmoil. Lessons from the crisis include the importance of financial stability, transparency, and sustainable economic policies. The crisis had long-term impacts and remains a significant chapter.
Okay, thank you very much, and sorry that we can take questions unless you are ready to have one question. Okay, we can take the time is already over. Moral hazard is something commonly used word. Moral hazard. Contoh seseorang itu anak orang kaya, ini orang kaya orang sini. Sebab apa? Dia tak perlu timbang kerana kalau dia tak ada duit pun ayah ada. Ayah orang kaya. Itu moral hazard. Sama lah dengan negara. Moral hazard adalah syarikat-syarikat itu penting. Syarikat apa nama GLC sebagai contoh. GLC government yang syarikat-syarikat berkaitan dengan government yang mana GLC Mewah. Tak perlu bimbang. Kerajaan akan bail out. Kerajaan akan datang bagi duit. Itu maksud. Boleh bang? Tak perlu bimbang. Ayah saya kaya. Tak perlu bimbang. Semua tak perlu bimbang. Sebab itu dia tidak ada disiplin. Bila putus dinamakan tidak ada disiplin sebab ada orang lain akan datang bantu. Itu moral hazard. Dan di sini anda dan sebagainya. So thank you very much. I say. So niat saya tak ada lain hanya untuk memberikan yang terbaik. I think you learn a lot from this.